Hello everyone, I'm the Saxy Gamer. Today we're here for yet another Civilization 6 Leader Spotlight, where today we're taking a look at Mvemba on Nzinga of the Kongo. So Mvemba's first ability is known as Religious Convert, and it makes it so that he may not build any holy site districts, gain great profits, or found any religions. He does, however, gain all beliefs of any religion that has established itself in a majority of his cities. He also receives a free apostle each time he finishes an Mbanza or Theater Square district, and that apostle then is of that city's majority religion. So Religious Convert is a very strange ability. The fact that you can't build any holy site districts, gain or great profits, or found any religions is just kind of weird, because it means that you really have no control of the benefits that you're going to be getting that game. So you really have to be totally reliant on the AI founding a good religion and then spreading it to you, which just generally is not a good thing to do, because the AI, whenever it comes to founding anything, is pretty, lackluster, especially because the AI is just going to found something that's probably pretty stupid, and sure, you'll get its beliefs, but it's not really going to be that great, because the AI is terrible at making anything synergistic at all. So if you're playing in single player, this ability is not very good. The free apostle, each time you finish an Mbanza or Theater Square, can be okay for a reason we'll talk about in a little bit, but aside from that, it's not really good. In multiplayer, where you can maybe synergize with a friend, team up with a friend, have them spread their religion to you, and have them have a religion that benefits you as well, then this can be useful, but in single player, it's really just not a good ability. Mvemba's second ability is known as Nkisi, and it makes it so that he receives +2 food, +2 production, and +4 gold from each relic, artifact, and sculpture, in addition to the usual culture that they would or faith that they would normally provide. He also receives 50% more great writer, artist, musician, and merchant points, and his palace has a slot for 5 great works instead of just 1. So Nkisi actually is a very, very good ability for multiple reasons. +2 food, +2 production, and +4 gold from relics, artifacts, and sculptures is a very nice thing. If you can get a lot of artifacts, a lot of relics, a lot of sculptures, then this actually stacks up. The other nice thing is, if in the early game you happen to get lucky and you get a relic from a goodie hut, then that's going to be a nice boost to your early game, and it is super helpful. The 50% more great writer, artist, musician, and merchant points is also very nice, because that just allows you to get a lot more great works, and in addition, your palace can store more great works, which more great work slots is always a pretty good thing, especially since he is able to get a lot more of the people that produce those works. So in Nkisi overall, it's just a very nice thing. You just get a lot more great works, and you get a little bit more benefit from them, so overall, pretty good. Moving on to Mvemba's unique unit, we have the Mvemba, which is a special unit that replaces the swordsman. Also, this name is just really just killing me. Actually, pretty much all of the Congo's names are really just killing me today. But the Mvemba has a melee strength of 35, which is down 1 from the swordsman, actually. It has a movement of 2, and a production cost of 110, which is up 20 from the swordsman. It has a few special abilities as well, so it gains +10 combat strength when defending versus ranged attacks, and it gets no movement or sight penalty in woods or rainforest. It also does not require any strategic resources. So this unit is, I don't think it is particularly good. The fact that it already has just -1 combat strength from swordsman is kind of just, I don't really know why it does, but that already puts us at a slight disadvantage. It has a higher production cost as well, which then even makes it a little bit worse. No movement and sight penalty in woods or rainforest. That's not really all that impactful. Sure, you can then maybe move your units a little bit faster, and you can maybe see 1 or 2 more enemy units, but aside from that, it doesn't really provide too much of a difference. The only case that I think that these units are very good is when you are attacking maybe a city or something, and you want something to front line for your army. So if you're doing that, then these units can be quite strong, because they're just going to be able to tank range attacks quite easily, because +10 combat strength that's pretty significant. So if you're looking for something to just be a frontliner for your army, then these things can be quite good, but other than that, I wouldn't really recommend them. As far as the Congo's unique district is concerned, we have the Mbanza, which is a special district that replaces the neighborhood. It is unlocked a little bit earlier, so it unlocks with guilds rather than urbanization, and it must be built on woods or rainforest. Once you construct it, you get +5 housing, +2 food, +4 gold, and in addition to this, it is half the usual production cost of the neighborhood. So the Mbanza, I think, it's a fairly good replacement for the neighborhood. You're going to be getting +5 housing upright, so you don't have to even worry about the appeal of the tile that you're building it on, so that is a very nice thing. The +2 food is going to help your city grow even a little bit more, especially since you're probably not going to be at the housing cap if you build one of these, because +5 housing is quite a bit of housing. And then +4 gold is also quite nice, because as you build more and more of these, that will stack up and just make it, it'll just kind of stack up and give you a lot more gold. Half the production cost of the neighborhood is also a very nice thing. You can get these out a lot easier in cities, maybe ones that you've just founded or something like that. And I overall think that these are a pretty decent district. You can use these to get absolutely insanely high population in some of your cities in the later game because, as I've said, +5 housing is just ridiculous, and it is nice that you don't have to worry about appeal. Also, must be built on woods or rainforest. That's not really that big of an issue because, especially considering that later in the game, if you really need one of these, you can always just use a builder to plant woods and then put it on those woods that you planted. So really, you can pretty much put these just about anywhere, and they are decent districts. The only thing is, though, I don't normally consider the neighborhood to be that great of a district, and I normally don't find myself needing neighborhoods. But just strictly as a replacement for the neighborhood, I think that the Mbanza is pretty good. And now it is that time to talk about some of the strengths and weaknesses of Mvemba on Nzinga and the Kongo in Civ 6. So for the first strength, I think that they can acquire cultural great people very quickly. Having plus 50% great people points towards those cultural great people can make it so that you are able to get the great people a lot faster than anybody else. So that will stack up quite nicely. You can get a ton of great works. You can get them quite early on because you're not going to be needing that many great people points just as a base, because 50% extra is quite significant. So I do think that that is one of the major strengths of the Kongo, is just how easy it is for them to be able to get those cultural great people. The other big strength of the Kongo is that they can get really, really high population. This is really entirely due to the Mbanza, because having +5 housing is just absolutely insane, especially in the later game when it is a little bit hard to come by some housing. Sure, you have like sewers and stuff that can give housing, but not that many things in the game actually provide housing, except for normally the neighborhood. And normally the neighborhood would be based on appeal, so you have to really make sure that you keep the appeal up. But with the Mbanza, you can just get straight up +5 housing. That's going to make it so that you're not going to be hitting your housing cap. Your cities can keep growing. It's going to be providing +2 food as well, which is going to help your cities grow even more. And then you can just get massive cities that are up like 20, 25 population, and you can work a ton of tiles, get a ton of yields, and just have a good time. So that is another one of the big strengths of the Kongo. As far as weaknesses are concerned, however, one of the big ones is that it is really easy for you to run out of slots for works and relics as the Kongo. It is very nice that the palace can hold 5 great work slots instead of just 1, so that is something that kind of helps mitigate this a little bit. But even so, having just +4 more slots still is not gonna be enough in the grand scheme of things to make it too much different. You're probably still gonna end up running out of slots for great works. So either you could settle more cities and then thus build more theater squares and have more slots like that, but the only problem is then you run the risk of running into an amenity issue, because you can't have a lot of cities that are also really high population, because then you're going to need a ton of amenities and you're just going to get crushed on that. So with the Kongo, you really have to make sure that you try your best not to run out of slots for great works, but you probably are eventually going to be running out of slots for great works, and it's not even gonna take till the end of the game, and you'll find that you're just gonna have a bunch of great people sitting around, which is really just kind of a bummer. The other big weakness of the Kongo is that the Mbanzas are really, really vulnerable to spies, and whenever you just have 1 or 2, it's not that big of a deal. But whenever you start building more than 2, if maybe you're getting 3 or 4 or 5, then you run into some issues, because enemy spies love to spam themselves on Mbanzas and just spawn barbarian after barbarian after barbarian. And the problem is, the more and more you have, the harder and harder it is to counter spy against that, because you really can't afford to have like 6 spies in all of your Mbanzas to counter spy. So you really just run into the issue of, well, you kind of just have to accept the fact that barbarians are going to be spawning there, and that's something that nobody really likes. This is one of the reasons why in my own personal games, I really never build neighborhood districts, just because the AI will spam, they will just spam spies in those things so often and spam just so many barbarians out that it is such a nuisance that I don't even think the housing is worth it. So that is one thing to consider whenever you're playing the Kongo, is that you really have to be careful with where you're placing your Mbanzas, and if you have enough spy resources to make sure that you can counter spy, because otherwise they're going to be so vulnerable. And now it is that time to give the Kongo their tier rankings. So if you're new to the series, what I do is I give each leader a tier ranking in each of the 4 victory types, so domination, science, culture, and religion, and these rankings just kind of gauge the civilization's general proficiency at attaining either of the rankings. I give them an overall ranking as well that takes into account other factors such as their spawn bias or their versatility, and this rank just kind of pits them against the other leaders in the game and gives you an idea of where they fall amongst the other leaders. All of our rankings go from S to F, with S being the highest and F being absolutely terrible. So let's go ahead and rank Mvemba on Nzinga. Domination's up first, and I think he deserves a C in domination. Really, he just has nothing special here. So Whenever you're playing Mvemba and Nzinga, you might want to go for a little bit of military aggression whenever you get your unique unit, but the unique unit really is not all that good. It's much more, I mean, it's a pretty good frontliner, and it can be used defensively to defend against some range attacks, but aside from that, it's not going to give you really any of an edge at all when going for a domination victory, and aside from that, he really has just no bonuses towards a domination victory, so I think he's fairly average and deserves a C. Science is up next, and more of the same here. I think he deserves a C, just because, once again, he really doesn't get very many bonuses, if any, towards science, so he doesn't get any bonuses towards campuses. He does technically get a little bit of production out of his, out of some of his great works, but it's not really going to be enough to make it worthwhile to go and try to build space parts off of that, because your science is still going to be just so underwhelming, because you don't have any bonuses, that it's just not a good idea. So, because of this lack of bonuses, I think he's fairly average and deserves a C. Culture's up next, and I think that Mvemba and Nzinga deserves an A in Culture. He is one of the better cultural civs in the game, so he does have the very nice thing that he receives some extra yields from some of his great works. He also, you know, is able to get 50% more great people points towards his cultural great people, so that's going to make it so that you are able to get your cultural great people very, very fast, which is something that is very nice. One of the other strategies that you can actually do with Mvemba is, since you receive a free apostle every time you build a theater square, you can build a bunch of theater squares, and then if you also build what's the name of the wonder? Mont Saint Michel, that makes it so that all of your apostles gain the martyr promotion. You can gain a bunch of apostles from building theater squares, and then you'll have all those apostles with the martyr promotion. You can send them to go suicide in someone else's territory, and you will receive a free relic every single time you do that. And then you're also going to be getting those bonus yields from those relics, as well as some tourism, so you can kind of farm relics off of doing that. So that is one strategy that you can do as Mvemba. But yeah, just in general, he's able to get great people very fast. You can get a lot of great works with him, which is something that is very nice. I didn't give him an S just because of that issue of running into like running out of enough great work slots, which can be a huge problem because that can really limit you in the late game. And the other thing is, he doesn't really get any bonuses to like his seaside resorts or his national parks or anything of the sort, so still, just though, because of his bonus to his cultural great people and his ability to get a lot of great works, I think he is fairly deserving of the A tier ranking. Religion is up next, and this is the first time I think I've given one of these rankings for the victory types, but he is deserving of an F in religion just because it is literally impossible for him to win a religious victory. There is no way to found your own religion, so you cannot win a religious victory. Even if you build Stonehenge, you don't get a great profit as Mvemba, so there is literally not a single way to win a religious victory, so that's the worst of the worst, and he is very, very deserving of the F in religion. As far as his overall rank is concerned, I think he deserves a C. He's not really a bad civ. Like, he has some definite perks to him, but he's really just not, you know, like a shining star or anything like that. He's just kind of average in domination and science. His culture game is quite good, but there still are some drawbacks to it. He does have a very limited play style, and you could go for, you know, like the Apostle Martyr promotion thing to get a bunch of relics, but that's like a really niche thing to do, and it's kind of wacky, and it doesn't really work all too well. So just because of his general, his general amount of averageness, combined with his very linear play style, I don't think that he's one of the better civs in the game. He's, as I said, though, he's definitely not bad. He is still a very viable civ, and you can have quite a bit of fun playing him. He is actually quite a fun civ to play, but overall he's just kind of average, and I think he falls right into the middle of the other leaders in the game, so I think he is deserving of a C. So thank you everyone for watching. I've been the Saxy Gamer. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you're looking for more Civilization 6 content, feel free to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.